I was thinking about this story in the Bible that is really kind of special and important to me, because when my son was really little, he reached into a folded and shut Bible that was in the back fold of a leather seat, so it was tight, and he took a page out, and it was Mark 9 with the epileptic boy. And he brought it out of the Bible perfectly without ripping a single word and handed it to me. He was just a toddler. And it was very interesting to me because when he was originally vaccine injured, he had a few seizures. And I prayed and prayed because my best friend, when I was a kid, died from grand mal epilepsy. And I really didn't want that kind of a fate for my son. You know, it's one thing to have this new thing called autism, you know, the vaccine injury they've been lying about forever. But it's another thing to just start right off with, you know, the seizures, right? Anyway, so I prayed and prayed and prayed a lot about that and read about it. And, you know, in this particular story, in some Bibles, they don't have this part down. Just like how the devil was fighting against natural healers and censoring them at the height of the COVID thing. You know, their whole bio war thing they were pulling off there. At the height of that, if you were paying attention, there, you know, to the natural health people, they were being censored like crazy, and it didn't really make sense. It was a little over the top, you know, just like any natural healing alternative, as well as everything natural is being censored. So that's one thing that resonates with me in the way that this one line in this event is often taken out of and left out of many Bibles, which is this kind, referring to this epilepsy as a demon, only comes up by prayer and fasting. Well, I mean, if you want to picture a demon, it's evil, okay? It came from the devil. It's not from God. I wouldn't get too hung up on that. I mean, just think about, it doesn't come out by prayer but by prayer and fasting. You know, if you were going to the doctor and you were accidentally you thought, you know, you were getting medicine, but maybe there was a fly in the ointment, maybe you were getting a vaccine that you're just having an allergic reaction to, adverse reaction, or so, you know what I mean? Well, you might need to fast from that, okay? Or you're never going to get better, right? See? Okay. So, this event that happens right after the Mount of Transfiguration, to me, seems like a parable event telling a story of Jesus's return, of what it's going to be like when Jesus returns to this earth. Okay, you have him going up, and then his disciples see his glory, right? And then he comes back down with his disciples, just like he's coming back to this earth to this world with the saints, right? And a dad meets him. Well, in the book of Joel, we're called to call the dads to the children, right? So the dad comes to him saying, your disciples couldn't heal this. Well, how many preachers have you seen talking about vaccine injuries? What do you have when you have vaccine injuries? It's pretty common to have seizures. You know, when you have a medicinal injury. My son just had medicinal injury. He didn't have seizures most of his life. The Lord did answer my prayers. I fasted and prayed for him that whole time. He didn't have seizures. They went away, and he didn't have them most of his life until he was dying from another medicinal injury. Unfortunately, when your children are given a vaccine injury that is that bad, that it's called severe autism, you wind up going to the doctor in need of other medicines. And the most experimental medicines that we know the least about are in psychiatry, okay? And those are the meds you're going to end up getting to get him to stop, biting his classmate, literally. So, anyway, to me, the whole thing is like a parable, but it's not a story, it's an event. And it's a parable of when Jesus returns. You see him coming with the saints down from heaven, right? Down from the Mount of Transfiguration. And he's going to meet, hopefully, we have followed Joel. So you see him come down, and hopefully we have drawn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and it's being preached about. You know what I mean? We're not just turning to the preachers and the pastors and they're saying, we can't heal it because you keep going back to that doctor and getting more poison. And you're not turning to the, you turn to the doctors, the allopathic doctors, you turn to a pediatrician and you keep going back, getting poison. You don't fast from that. It's never going to heal, right? Never going to be healed. You can't heal this kind, but by fasting and prayer. See, it was so much deeper than just Brian. So much bigger than Brian in that moment when he first got that vaccine injury as a toddler, as a baby. I'm convinced, vaccine injured more than once. Unfortunately, I never heard of autism before, so doesn't that sound like a parable? Only God can do that, and God can do that. God wrote stories with people's names, okay? My children's names read like a sentence, because you know what God was saying? He was saying, your identity is firm with me. I know who you are. I know who you were before you were born. Nothing changes that. The devil doesn't change that. Doesn't matter how many vaccines he's got.